Okay, guys. So I'm Heather Fowler with Alabama Health Guidance, and I specialize in the ACA portion. So I wanted to take some time today and let's talk about some digital marketing we can do for ACA. So thankfully, we don't have as many compliance issues as they have with Medicare. So that makes it a little easier for us. Lisa, if we need to make sure anybody's muted or whatever, will you take care of that for me? Okay, so I went to a digital marketing seminar that my good friend Raisha did for our Shoals Chamber of Commerce. And so I'm just going to share what she shared with us because this is by no means my specialty. I went to learn and I gathered some good information, and then I just thought I will share what I learned with you and hope that it is helpful. So this was Raisha's credentials. She is the associate director of marketing and events at the University of North Alabama, and she has been there for 7 years. So she knows a lot about social media. So she started out, just saying that these are the things that most business accounts struggle with. And I heard Taylor mention earlier that, some of you may not have a separate business account. You may only have your personal account. It might be a good idea to make a business account. Of course, we have one with Alabama Health Guidance, and that's where we're going to try to post everything and then share it to our personal page because we are wanting to have more people visit our business site so that they will know what we do. And Raisha just said that a lot of people struggle with the inconsistent branding and posting and messaging, and then choosing the right platform, and then just posting content that doesn't perform well or posting without a purpose. And so what I'm going to talk about today are just simple things that are organic. Okay. They're going to be free that you can put on your business page and just to help create brand awareness, let people in your community know what you do, and just improve engagement. So here are some do's. Know your audience and what platform they're using. And those of us with AC that sell ACA, we may want to think more about Instagram and TikTok because we are targeting a little younger audience. Now, Facebook is still great, but us here at Alabama Health Guidance, we have not even had a TikTok or an Instagram, but we have some new agents, and one is young, and she's really going to focus on that demographic of people losing their Medicaid. They are turning 19, they're losing their Medicaid. Maybe they're 26 and they're coming off their parents' plan. And so, you want to think about who your target audience is and where they're going to be on social media. And then, of course, always have a call to action. You want to have a goal for your post. And then, do show your business, your customers, your employees. And you can do that with reels or images or flyers. And then be consistent with your branding. We want to be sure that we're consistent with using our logo, and maybe try to use some of the same colors if we're posting something with colors on it. And then Taylor mentioned this too, post consistently. If you only put something on there once a month or twice a month, you're just not going to have a lot of engagement. So, we're going to start trying to post, possibly multiple times a week, but at least once a week. And then these are some don'ts. Post a QR code. Okay. So, and I think I have seen this before, and she had some examples. If you put your QR code on your social media page, well, people are probably on their phone looking at that. And so it's going to be hard for them to scan a QR code. So you're going to do better to have a link for them to visit instead of like our marketing QR code from Health Sherpa. That is fantastic to have on a flyer or a rack card that you leave out in the community, but it's not going to be the best thing for you to put on your social media. You're going to need to go to that Health Sherpa marketing section, on the left hand side, and then copy the link so that you can have that in your post and people can click on that and it will take them to your specific Health Sherpa page where they can get a quote and they can even do their whole enrollment there. And then that would be under your NPN. So you want to take advantage of that link when you're posting on social media and not the QR code. Okay. And then just don't overload your audience with a bunch of words. Okay. People really aren't on there to have to read a whole lot. I know I see that sometimes and I just get tired of scrolling down and I quit reading it. So we want to be concise with what we have to say. And don't assume that people know what you do. I know we have a lot of things out in our community that say Alabama Health Guidance, and we do lots of sponsorships. And sometimes I'll think, well, I wonder when people see our logo if they really understand what we do. And so make sure that if you do have a business page, which I think is a good idea, and I've looked back at ours, make sure it says that if you do Medicare, that it says Medicare, but all of us, we're thinking about ACA. So I added a little bit more to our business page about helping individuals with health insurance because I wasn't sure that everybody knew that that was really something that we did. And then, like Lisa mentioned, those Chat GPT flyers, they do all look the same. So Raisha really recommended using Canva, and I use Canva all the time. You can get a free version or you can do the paid version. It's super easy, quick, and it's kind of fun. And I know in other webinars, I was like, just put this in Chat GPT, but I have noticed that they do all begin to look alike. So, try to come up with something a little more original so that your thing doesn't look like everybody else's. And then, of course, the last, she said, share posts from other accounts because then that's going to drive the engagement to that account. Unless it's something like if you're being featured on like maybe your local news or something and you want to show, hey, this adds like validity to what I do or whatever, then you might share it, but just don't share a lot of other stuff on your account because it's just going to drive people to someone else's account instead of yours. All right. And then these were just, statistics by each platform. And we kind of know that everybody looks at Facebook pretty much in all the categories of ages. But then if we're targeting younger people like we do with ACA, you may really want to think about Instagram and TikTok and then YouTube. I get on YouTube a lot to learn something. And really, even for those of you that are in Medicare, I know 65-year-olds now may get on YouTube to learn about Medicare. But you may want to think about making some little short YouTube videos that explain about retiring early. And then you might have some people that are like 60 that are wanting to retire. They're not old enough for Medicare, but they could watch your YouTube video and you could explain to them that there, could be an affordable option for health insurance if they wanted to retire early. So, those would be the ones that I think we're going to try to focus on at Alabama Health Guidance, really our Facebook, and then we're going to start an Instagram and TikTok, and we're going to try to do more with our YouTube channel as well. And so just some best practices. Sunday seems to just not perform well. Keep your character content under 150. And then Raisha suggested posting 3 or 4 times a week. We're not going to be able to do that. We don't have a social media person that is dedicated to that. We do have a couple of young girls that work at our office, and so they're going to be able to help us with that. But if we do 1 a week, I think we're going to be doing great. Hopefully leading up to OEP and AEP, we can get a few more in. But, during our busy time, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. I know we won't have time to be doing much of that, but also use emojis sparingly. And the hashtags, if you're going to use a hashtag, make sure it's relevant. That's not something that I have ever really used, but there you could probably ask ChatGPT of some relevant hashtags, maybe for ACA or marketplace, and he could probably suggest some that you might could use. It's basically, I didn't even really know what it was, but you can click on that hashtag and it will take you to posts that are related to that topic that have used that hashtag. So, that may be something you want to try using as well. And then, try to use videos more than photos, and just always try to post something with the video or photo. That's people like to see that. All right. And then so these are 4 types of posts that everyone can create. And this will take some planning, especially like if you're like us and you don't have a social media person. Those of us at the office, we're just going to have to kind of get our heads together. And thankfully, we do have those, some younger girls that can help us with these things and come up with some ideas. But I kind of think it will be fun. And during this, well, now we're not so slow, but, kind of in this time of year, you might have some downtime to think of some of these things and prepare them ahead of time. So you want to showcase your products or services, let people know what you do. Like Taylor and Lisa were saying, let people know what you do. You might want to share some customer success stories or testimonies from customers. And then, of course, we'll want to publicize that OEP is coming up. If we might want to do a post about the premium tax credit so that people will know that that's available to help lower their premium. Because if people don't know what you do, they're not going to call you about it. So we want to be sure that, they know what you do. And then build relationships. We do a lot of stuff with the University of North Alabama here. So, we post pictures of us with some of the players when they come by the office, and just, build relationships, show what you're doing, spotlight what you're doing maybe in your community, or we post about our birthday parties and things like that, just to help build relationships and show that you're human and people get to know you and trust you, and it just creates more of an emotional connection with your community. And then of course you use your page to educate your audience. I've tried to make a few videos targeting special enrollment periods. For example, the other day I did a short little video explaining how if the employer coverage was unaffordable for your family, that you could leave the employer coverage and enroll in a marketplace plan. That's an SEP that oftentimes people overlook. So, I wanted to do a little educational video about that, because a lot of people don't know out in the community that is, they don't have to stay with that unaffordable coverage from their employer. So I did a little educational video about that. I love the little day in the life reel. It wouldn't take long to just hold your phone up and you could tell all the things that you've done in that day. You helped someone find a plan that would cover their medicines. You uploaded a document for someone. You could just tell all of the things kind of that you do that add value. Why would someone choose to use you as an agent instead of just going on healthcare.gov and enrolling themselves? So I think, you could showcase your value by doing a little day in the life reel and just let the audience know the value you can bring to them, why they should choose to come to you. And then just engage with your audience, the polls and questions. And Raisha really explained that Facebook and the other social media platforms, they push your content based on engagement. And so if you do a little poll, maybe targeting early retirees, and you want to ask a question like, at what age are you hoping to retire? And then have people respond. That's going, every time someone comments, it's going to push your post out to more people. And then more people will see what you do. So I like the polls and the questions. Getting people to comment and respond quickly is going to help your content get out to more people. It's going to build that engagement. And then these were just some do's. She's of course at the University of North Alabama, and so she just emphasized the importance of just posting real pictures. Maybe real people in your office answering a question or showing what you do there at your office instead of just posting words. Post some pictures that showcase your business. And then these were just some examples of don'ts. Like this one's really hard to read. This is just a flyer and it had the link down here in the flyer, but there was no link in the words. So there was nothing for anyone to click on to go to register for that event. So of course, like with us, like I said earlier, you want to go to Help Sherpa and get your personalized marketing link and use it in your post so that anyone that looks at it can very quickly click on that link. It will take them to basically like your Help Sherpa landing page where they can put in their income, their household size, and instantly see the plans that are available to them. And then here, these are just those AI ChatGPT flyers that basically all look alike. So let's not, let's try to move away from those. I was using them too, but I am kind of seeing that they do all tend to look alike. And then just some other content things that you might want to consider, some best practices. Maybe create a content calendar. And that's what I'm hoping we're going to do. That's what I'm planning on us doing is, sitting down at the office and thinking about what do we want to post coming up. We know open enrollment's coming up. So let's think about doing some reels leading up to that. And, the first grade teacher in me, I love stuff like that. So I have a lot of little fun ideas that I've been thinking about that we could do. And I've thought about, us getting ready for open enrollment, doing like maybe a little Rocky theme song and show somebody working on their computer and, maybe then like Mia answering the phone and just, say we're getting ready for open enrollment. We don't want to post that today because it's not until November, but we could go ahead and start making some of those little videos now while we have time and then have that on our calendar that, hey, we want to post this in October. And then we want to follow up, the next week with something else about open enrollment. But go ahead and start trying to think about some content that you could go ahead and create now and then have it ready to post closer to open enrollment if that's what you're really wanting to focus on. Right now with trying to sell year round, you could take that special enrollment chart, the special enrollment periods chart, having a baby. You could post a little picture of if you have a child or someone at your business has a baby, maybe post a picture of them holding their baby and just have your message say something like, if you've had a baby or added a dependent, adopted a child in the past 60 days, you may be eligible for a special enrollment period. That one, it's not even a requirement of prior coverage. So, that would just be something you could target right now. That would be a special enrollment period. And, people may see that and engage with it. And who knows, you might get some leads. There may be people that are out in your community that have had a baby and they don't know that opens up a special enrollment period for them. So, I would say just take that chart and look down through there and think of some pictures you could post or some little reels you can make or whatever that would target those people with those special enrollment periods. And so, just don't wait until the last minute. Go ahead and start trying to think about some of these things that you want to post ahead of time. And I know we're all really busy. And if you have so much business already that you think, I don't want another phone call, I don't need any, then this is probably not what you want to focus on. But if you are trying to build your business and you are looking for more leads, looking for more people to call you, then I think social media, could be a good avenue for you to expand your business. And then Raisha talked about using a scheduling tool. I've never used that. We probably won't use that. Like I said, we have a few young girls at our office. I think that will be able to help us get that done. And we can just put it on our calendar and remember to do that. And just you can use Canva for things. You can just use your phone to make the videos. It's kind of easy to make. I had not made a lot of TikToks, but you can get on there and play around a few minutes. And if you have somebody young in your family, they can show you very easily how to use that. And then that video you make, you can share it to Facebook. Someone that's younger, if you're not familiar with how to do it, you can get on there and play with it yourself, or just ask somebody a little younger. They're very familiar. And we've kind of I guess criticized Chat GPT a little bit about those flyers all looking the same, but you can use AI for marketing. It doesn't replace you, but it can save you time and help you be more creative. I had talked to Chat the other morning because we had one of the UNA football players coming to our office, and I just talked to him about how could we make a social media reel or a Facebook reel using that football player. And he had, and social media, I mean, ChatGPT had a great idea. He said, have the player in his uniform and say, like, when I suit up for the lines, having health insurance gives me one less thing to worry about. And so, that was just a quick little one liner. He can video himself saying that, and then I can put my little video right at the end of that saying, call Alabama Health Guidance. We can help you with your health insurance needs, whatever. So Chat GPT helped me come up with that. So you can use Chat GPT to help you think of ideas, maybe writing the captions. Chat can help with that. You do want to maybe edit it, make sure it sounds like you, make it just right, but he can come up with some good ideas. I call Chat a he, maybe a she, whatever voice you use, I guess. And Chat GPT can help you, generate those content ideas like I was just talking about. So those would be, that might be something that you want to talk to Chat about if you have some ideas. If you want to say, hey, how could I target people that have just had a baby that, need to enroll in health insurance? And I'm sure Chat would come up with some content ideas. And then, just turn one post into many, like open enrollment. That's going to be a big event. So we're going to want to have several all the way through till the end. We're going to want to have a lot of posts ready to go so that maybe each week during open enrollment, we can post, leading up to it, do some videos, and then it's here, and then it's still going on. We're just going to have to think about it. Maybe I'm going to talk to Chat GPT to get some ideas about that. And then, it's ending tomorrow or whatever. And then we are going to have the extended open enrollment all the way to January 15th this year. That is something CMS has officially announced. So, we'll want to make some social media posts about that. And a few years ago, I did one in front of my Christmas tree, and it was already like, into January. And I just said something like, are you putting off getting health insurance? Like I'm putting off taking down my Christmas tree. Well, it's not too late, and blah, blah, blah. So you might want to just start thinking ahead and get some things in mind so that you could go ahead and be prepared, because we're going to be so busy, especially if you don't have a lot of people to help you with this. You want to have something you already prepared that you can just post quickly, if you're wanting more calls. I know some of us by that time of year, we're like half dead and we may not want any more calls. But if you're wanting more calls, which, you might want to think about that. All right, so that's it. Did anybody have any questions that they wanted to ask? And Lisa, was there anything in the chat? I've not noticed the chat.
Things that Alicia said that was good advice. one thing that I wanted to say that you were just talking about is that I am a true perfectionist. So when you're talking about doing those things, I think, oh my gosh, I've got to get all this together, it's got to be perfect. And one thing that Ike said yesterday that really hit home with me is that it just needs to sound natural, so don't stress out over making these things like you were just talking about, just
Hmm.
they need to sound natural when you're doing them. So when you're doing these videos, the more natural they sound and the uhs and the I
Yeah.
guess the mistakes that you make are okay in them. People want to know you're a person when you're making the video. So all that's okay.
I
And
I definitely think so too. Yeah. And I think people just like seeing a person on there saying something. And I've thought about we could do like a question of the week where you just show your, like Lisa could hand me a little basket and I could pull out a question that I already know what the question is, and it might ask, would I qualify for a premium tax credit? What if my income's too low or whatever? So, you could just do a question of the week and answer those. That would be something you could prepare ahead of time. And I think it's fun to just be natural, like Lisa was saying. So,
because that's what Alicia said. She said she gets more traffic from personal things, personal funny things that her daughter says. Or so
yes,
it's funny, natural things that people want to see. It's not scripted things. So I think you just have to keep that in mind.
I think so too. I agree. I think that's what people like to see. They like to just see you're human and that you're relatable and you're just there to help them. I think your intention and heart behind your post, that's what you want people to see, that you're just there to help them, and I think it'll all fall into place after that. So,
That's right. That's right.
all right. Well, if nothing else, then we'll wrap up for today and thank you for all being here. Bye.
Okay, Heather.
Hey,
Thank you。
thank
我
you.
按一
Bye
百
bye.
九十二个192块2毛，这个是合约，
Y'all have a good day. Thanks for
You
joining
too.
us.
Thanks.
1500。
Bye bye.